Hello and welcome back to the Dune Minute Podcast, your place to dive in deep, episode by episode, into HBO's Dune Prophecy. I am one of your hosts, Zach.
And I'm John.
And we have a whole lot to talk about today, man. We are fresh off the heels of the season finale of Dune Prophecy. And what a finale it was.
It was an episode of TV.
It was certainly the last episode of the season.
Yeah. Some news in the past week since the release of our latest episode. Now, HBO has confirmed a season 2. So we have more Dune to look forward to in the future, and good. But we'll get into that.
That's a good thing.
We'll get into that
given
later
how this
on.
episode, given how this episode went, I'm so glad there's a season 2.
Yeah. Just like last week, we're gonna kind of try and speed through as much of the episode as we can in a recap before we talk about how we feel and everything else, because there's still quite a bit to go over here. So what do you say we just dive on in?
Let's get into it, man. So first thing to note is we get a cold open again. The cold open, this would be, I guess, the second episode this season that we get a cold open, because we're not counting the first. And the other episode would be the fourth episode, Twice Born, was the other cold open. So I personally am a fan of cold opens on TV shows, especially if they do it like this episode did and give you a nice, good nugget of information that carries throughout the rest of the episode.
Yep.
So it's very much appreciated.
It's a great way to kind of set the tone and then just get the ball rolling right off the bat. So,
yep.
And man, what kind of cold open is better than A Dark and Stormy Night?
It's just a classic, man. It's a classic.
So yeah, Dark and Stormy Night on Wallach. We get the really cool shot of, just Wallach from space with its various moons and everything around it and everything. And we are back in time watching Valia and Dorothea confront each other from a different perspective. This time it's conveniently all of Valia's best friends watching Valia tell Dorothea to kill herself, basically.
Yeah, and we knew that they were there before, right? Like, okay, because I was trying to go back and forth between was this supposed to be like a revelation that Tula and Francesca and Kasha were like watching Valia do this? Because it wasn't to me. I was like almost certain that we already knew they were there.
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember, and I didn't go back and watch the first episode. I think the way that we were left off after the first episode was with Valia just following Dorothea, basically pleading with her, like, hey, don't do this. And then we only saw the two of them. So could be wrong on that, actually, now that I'm thinking back on it.
Maybe it was because they, like, as soon as we get Dorothea cutting her throat, like, we see the other sisters running down the ramp to them. So maybe I just inferred that they were already like kind of watching nearby.
Maybe.
Because they got there so quick.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't linger on that too long. We do get a cool little scene where, like we talked about in the Dune Minute episodes with the Harkonnens not killing Paul and Jessica. Valia, Kasha, Francesca, and Tula all agree that they can't, lie about what happened, but they come up with their own truth about what happened, where, Dorothea was just, she ended her life by her own hand because she couldn't see a path forward and she was so sad and blah, blah, blah. But, Tula's there kind of hesitating, and then she just runs off. We then see a moment where Tula tells her sister that she's pregnant and she thinks she wants to keep the baby. They decide to, raise it together, and it's sisters above all.
I like that. A nice little twist on the phrase.
And then we're thrown right into credits. Opening credits. That's the episode. We're done.
Yeah, the opening credits still remain unchanged. So no sneak peeks and no tidbits of information that we're getting from them. So right after the credits, we are back on Wallach 9, present day Wallach 9, or at least present in the time frame, or the show's time frame, present day. And we get the reintroduction of the Suk Doctor Nazir, Suk Doctor / Sister Nazir, I guess I should say. And they're going over some of the lab results now that Raquella has looked at them, and they've really identified what virus is going on. And some things that I loved from this scene. Well, a lot that I didn't love from this scene, but some things that I did love were the mention of the Prana Bindu. I think that might be the first like by name mention that we get from it.
Yep.
So it's determined that Kasha's had this virus for a while, or or at least for a number of days. Because she was trying to fight it. She was actively using this Prana Bindu to try to, I think they use the term transmutate.
Transmutate the virus, which they said they could treat the virus like they did the Rossic poison and everything. And I'm just, I don't know. I'm kind of like, can you though? But whatever.
Well, their heart's in the right place.
Yep.
So yeah, and they realize that it does feed off of fear, is what this virus does. That fear is like the catalyst for the changes that we see. And when Desmond's getting up real close to people's faces, he is doing something to activate it, which we'll see later in the episode. But the virus itself just like compounds and goes crazy when people start to get scared. So that's what they're going to try to fix here. And the doctor, Nazir, says, let me take a stab at it. Tula tries to volunteer first, but the doc's like, I've got medical training, man. Let me go ahead and do this.
Yeah, she was uniquely qualified because of her Suk training and her sisterhood training. We get a little jump cut to the future, and by the future I mean about probably 10 minutes later, where Nazir is laying on the table, and Tula is putting those same brain sensors on her scalp, and they're kind of talking through, the process of how they're going to go about trying to transmute this virus. And the transmutation starts off fine. We see Nazir, slowly adapting to the virus and everything and kind of pushing it back. It's successful, and then suddenly the virus just becomes super active and fights back. It is really quick to adapt to that fear response and just go kind of crazy, overtaking Nazir. Nazir finds some respite in a moment, and then pushes the virus back, and then the virus just like completely overwhelms her afterwards. And we see her kind of barbecue a little bit on the table. But before she's completely gone, she does say that, she sees it, the monster of Arrakis, and she sees the eyes. They're not human, and there's no further clarification given.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, man. I'm not going to jump ahead. Oh, no, I'll save that to the end. I'll save my thoughts on this part to the end. So, rest in peace, Sister Nazir. We hardly knew you.
Yeah, we saw you for a few minutes.
Yep.
Great job by the actor.
Still a good character there. Oh, yeah, I was about to say, really, really good. So right after this, I mean, when Nazir dies, Tula, she sinks down on the floor. She's, panicking. As sisters of the Bene Gesserit are wont to do. And
shout out Stressica.
Yeah. We cut straight from here over to a future interrogation scene. Suspensors are not just for chairs. They're also used for beatings, apparently. I thought this was an interesting way of using that technology in the show. Just having Kieran floating among, just a couple feet off the ground, and then using the no friction to slam him into the wall.
Yeah. And since his, hands are also, clasped at his waist or whatever, he can't protect his head. So his head's just smacking into the stone wall too.
Yeah, it's brutal. So Desmond's overseeing this, and he's wanting to, get information out of Kieran about, the Sisterhood's involvement. How long did he know this? Like they were behind everything, and he tries to use the Atreides Harkonnen feud as a reason for him to testify against the sisterhood in front of the Landsrat. And little does he know that Kieran hates him even more than he hates the Harkonnens.
Yeah.
So he's staunch in his refusal to testify.
Then we go from the interrogation to jail.
Yeah.
Yep. Kieran is thrown against the wall one last time, and he's knocked unconscious. And as he's just kind of unconscious in jail, Inez is off in the corner doing the sci-fi thing, opening a panel with a knife and just poking at stuff inside the panel because she's doing her best. If Star Trek has taught us anything, you just poke stuff.
Yep, exactly. That is always how you break future technology. Open panel, poke things.
Yep.
Or rip them out, or rip them straight out of the wall. That also helps.
That does work. But Inez doesn't get to poke too long because Empress Natalia is right there, just kind of like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And Inez tries to speak reason to her mother, and her mom basically says, you should have come to me sooner, and then has a little bit of tough love with her daughter and locks Inez up as well.
Yeah. As a lesson, she says. Yeah. This is a lesson. Which, yeah, that's a real tough love situation, like you said. On a lighter note, we then move over to some post-coital cuddles.
Yeah. No sex in this episode. Thank you, HBO.
No. I was really worried this episode was going to be 50% sex since we didn't get any in the last two.
The little title card or whatever at the start where it's TVMA. It's like violence, sexual situations. And I'm like, you motherfuckers. God damn it.
But no, we don't get to see the action. We just get to see the aftermath. And so it's Francesca and Haviko are in the bed, just, cuddling up together. And she's telling him that, since Constantine is no longer there's no reason for her to be, at the Capitol anymore. But Haviko really wants her to stay. And not just, stay in bed, but stay on Seleucus permanently. Ditch Natalia. They get married happily ever after, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Francesca's like, nope, I got obligations elsewhere. I can't be here. Yada, yada. Just, letting him down very gently. It's here that Haviko says, okay, well, bring Valia. I want to talk to her. And before we get too much further into that conversation, someone comes banging through the door and tells the Emperor that Inez has been jailed.
Then we leave the palace for a little bit, and we're back at the Harkonnen apartment. Valia is caught off guard by Inez's arrest, just as I think everyone else is, except for Empress Natalia.
Yeah.
But Francesca says that it's a situation that they can exploit, and we get some conversation between Francesca and Valia where Valia is basically saying, look, the Emperor has made his bed, so to speak. He can't divorce Natalia because that's just going to put the entire Imperium at risk for all-out war. And he's, forfeited his right to a peaceful reign at this point. Theodosia is given a job to make sure that Inez gets out of the city safely until her coronation as Empress is confirmed. And, we get a line from Valia where now is the time to change tactics. And unfortunately, that means Haviko has to go. Francesca isn't exactly feeling great about that, but she understands that it was what she signed up for. And, it's unfortunately, there are casualties in everything that the sisterhood does. We're done on Seleucus Secundus, though, because we're going to go back to Wallach, but we're also going back in time. We are in the past, shortly, what I would assume is shortly after the death of Dorothea, where Valia is showing the breeding program to Tula, Kasha, and Francesca. And, she's like, hey, I know it's a thinking machine, and I know that this big war was just fought, but this is Raquela's work. So,
yeah.
We kind of need to make sure that it stays in place and everything. And
but it's not connected to any other thinking machine. So it's fine.
It is air gapped, but
yeah, exactly.
Just because something's air gapped doesn't mean that it's entirely safe, because I can just walk in and plug in a USB drive and, Stuxnet. Look it up, kids. But yeah, we see the breeding program in action where, Valia is basically like, hey, we need to find a good match for a future empress to get a sister on the throne. And we see the connection that's made between Haviko Carino and Natalia Arat. At this time, Natalia is only just a child, so Francesca is given the task to basically keep Haviko busy until Natalia is old enough to be, married off for this union. Kasha is given her marching orders then to become Emperor's truthsayer and kind of get influence into that family and into the future daughter's life to get her kind of pre-initiated into the sisterhood. So we
clearly see that has happened because of all of Inez's, training prior to her even joining the sisterhood.
Correct.
Yep.
So I was going to say that's one thing that I really liked what they did with this, where we saw, the plans, being hatched and created decades before they would end up coming true.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we get a bit of information about how the disciples of Dorothea had suspicions of Anarul's existence, and that it's super important that no one else knows about this, even though the sisterhood seemingly acts as one unit. There is division in terms of who knows what.
Yeah.
Francesca and Kasha are dismissed, but Tula is held back because Valia wants to show Tula what she couldn't resist looking up about, the union of her developing child. And we learn that he has potential to be great if properly guided, and he has the potential to shape trajectory of worlds. Tula says that Valia says that she and Tula will shape this child together and guide him to greatness.
Up on the screen, we're seeing the same baby picture.
Yeah.
That we saw a couple of episodes ago when they tested Desmond's blood.
We see a baby picture of an unborn baby, which I thought was very interesting.
You can do that stuff nowadays.
I don't know. She still seemed pretty early on where the baby probably doesn't have a fully developed face or other features.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
mean, if I tried hard enough, I'm pretty sure I could find a service that would show us what a child between you and I would look like.
That would be a fucking abomination.
Oh yeah, it'd be a terrible thing, but it could happen.
I don't think it could.
Anyways.
And then we get a little bit of a flash forward in time.
Yeah.
Still in the same room, still with Anarul. But Tula is asking about Nazir's detections with the virus. We learn that this viral tech is just dormant in everyone. Anarul says the only way to deal with, this viral situation that just happens to be in everyone is that they have to incapacitate Desmond. And Tula's just like, but he was made a weapon. I'm just going to go talk to him. And then she just leaves.
Okay. All right. Well, a lot of interesting things dumped on the audience in that scene.
Yep.
Let's put a pin in that. Well, how about we do that?
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about later.
So we come back outside, and Sister Avila and another older member of the Sisterhood are talking about how Tula has just abandoned her post in a time like this. They can't figure out why she's just leaving. Clearly, she didn't say, "Hey, it turns out I got a long lost son. He's the one killing everyone. I gotta go." But yeah, they're shocked that she's just leaving at when everyone's in this state of disarray. And who is lurking in the corner but Sister Emmeline, who we know is following in Dorothea's footsteps at this point.
Yep.
Back in the holding cell, I guess you could call it, we get to see Jen and Lila, and they're talking, and Dorothea. Yeah, what's Dorothea / Lila? I don't know how we want to call it, but Dorothea
controlling Lila's body.
Yeah. Convinces Jen to release her or loosen her arm restraints, and as a thank you, we get some poisoning, which is great. So,
well, not poisoning. She just uses
Lila knocks her out.
She uses the sedative that Tula gave Jen in case Lila, started going crazy or whatever.
Okay, well, she knocks her out for sure.
It's enough to act quickly.
Yep.
All right,
and back over in Desmond's office, Havoko he confronts Desmond about the arrest of Inez, and he's just like, "Why the heck would you do that? This is uncalled for." Yada yada. Desmond's trying to give him advice and to be his person that Havoko leans on, but Havoko says, "I have other people, I have other advisors that I counsel with, and it's not just you."
Yeah. Evidently that hurt Desmond's feelings. And he's like, "What?" And then,
yeah,
we kind of leave our scene there. He tries to, drum up that he found evidence that the sisters were, working with this because he found the dress, but where is the dress? It's burnt up. Havoko doesn't believe him unless he has hard proof.
Yeah.
Once again, we're bouncing back and forth between Seleucus Secundus and Wallach 9. We see, so Lila approaches the cone of silence and everything, and she's just like, "Hey, I'm here," and and Emmeline and the disciples are like, "How and why are you alive? What's up with your eyes?" Lila's like, "Don't worry about it." Yeah. And evidently, just being like, "Don't worry about it, I'm here," was enough for them to completely ignore the fact that they've been seeing these blue eyes in their, visions and everything. And they're just like, whatever. Emmeline, I think, puts 2 and 2 together to realize it's Dorothea. And, Dorothea's basically saying, "I've found a way back despite the efforts of others." She's angry at the fact that Valia is Mother Superior and is asking about other older sisters from her time. And Emmeline is like, "Yeah, we've been reading about the Butlerian sisters that disappeared after Dorothea's suicide." And Lila's like, "Suicide? No." Back to Jen real quick. Dislocates her thumbs and gets out of the hospital bed, I guess is what we'll call it.
Yeah, this was a gruesome scene, man. Like, good on her for doing that, but goodness gracious, my face was just like scrunched up. I was like, ugh, it's gross.
We find ourselves back in Valia's office, which was previously Raquela's office. It's Valia's office as far as we're concerned here. Dorothea is looking through archives to find information about her followers, and no information exists, which means that only the Mother Superior could have told the Mentats to purge that information.
Yeah. Well, not just Mentats. We get the sister Mentats.
Yes.
Which was a cool little name drop that we get nothing else about, but I loved the little name drop.
Here's the cool thing. We're not going to talk about it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Jen arrives.
Classic Frank.
Yeah. Jen arrives and explains the abomination to Emmeline. Emmeline knows and is just calling Dorothea by name. And we're moving on because we still have a lot to go for this episode.
I know.
So sorry if we're kind of blowing through this. We got a lot to talk about. In the palace, Valia's escorted directly to the Suspenser cells by getting arrested, or that's her plan at least. She reveals to Francesca about Theodosia's face dancer abilities in kind of like a flashback during the scene where she's getting, into the palace. We get this weird, like, what's going on and flashback, but not too far back kind of thing.
Here's what this is. I love when movies do this. Movies do it a lot more than TV shows, I think. But they're explaining the plan as we're seeing the plan happen.
Yeah.
I call it the Ocean's 11 effect.
That's fair.
Because that's basically like half of that movie is them doing that.
Yeah.
And I love it. I eat that shit up, man. It's so good.
So what you're saying is Ocean's 11 minute.
Yeah. Sure. I'll do it.
No, I will not.
Yeah. After 2 seconds of thought, actually, no. Thank you.
No. So yeah, during the Ocean's 11 sequence, we get the reveal to Francesca about Theodosia's face dancer abilities, and we learn that she was born of Tulaxan genetic fuckery. That's my direct quote in my notes here. And we only see a little bit of a transformation that Theodosia undergoes after she gains entry by being, quote unquote, invited by Francesca to the palace.
Yeah. Another good name drop here. So we get confirmation about Theodosia's, I guess, origin.
Yep.
And we don't stay on it. They don't mention anything else about it, but we at least get the name.
At this point, the last thing that we see in our Ocean's 11 sequence is the handoff of the Gom Jabbar given to Francesca, dipped in a meta-cyanide because regular cyanide isn't cool enough.
Is that self-referential cyanide, I guess?
I guess. Or maybe it's, a special kind of cyanide that Mark Zuckerberg develops or some shit.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. We have Havoko and Natalia, and Havoko's confronting her about Inez's arrest. Desmond's there, and Natalia's just not having anything to do with this. She is like fully big dogging Havoko in this moment, and just saying like, yeah, you might be at the head of this house, but you have no authority here anymore. Me and Desmond are going to be taking over all this stuff, and you're just a figurehead, basically.
Yeah. She basically just calls him the small little man that he is.
Yeah, right. So we've been kind of building up to this all season. It's really like all of the Havoko's weaknesses hitting him at once, it feels like.
Yeah.
So he walks into the throne room where he finds Valia doing a very bold move of sitting down on the empty throne.
Yep.
Some symbolism there.
What's the symbology of this symbolism? The word you're looking for is symbolism.
And he just got reamed by Natalia, and Valia just comes in and does the exact same thing, but 10 times worse to him.
Oh, dude. She calls him such a little bitch to his face in so many words.
Oh my gosh. It was like gutting.
And
what she does to him.
And he's approaching her like, please take back the, puppet strings that you were holding over me before. I liked it better when you were in control. Like he's such a just like weak and feeble and shitty man in this moment. and she
Yeah.
just makes
What
him even weaker and smaller.
Yeah. Well, what did they say about him when they were looking at the family trees earlier? That he's one for stability, not strength.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Yeah, he's groveling for help. He needs her back, and she's not having it. She lays in about Francesca, and how like nothing between them is real. That, and this was the gutting part to me, was that how he was basically only an assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Her.
One of many.
Yeah, I was like, oh God, my heart goes out to you, man. That's tough to hear.
That, and when Valia was like, "Did you think Francesca ever loved you?" Like, oh fuck, dude.
Yeah, it's tough stuff, man.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we don't linger in it for too long, though.
No, but he does call for her arrest, and even the guards are like, "What?"
That's right. Yeah.
She finally turns to them and is like, "All right, let's fucking go."
Oh man, he cannot catch a break.
No. But we don't stay in the throne room too long because we're going back to Wallach. This is Dune Prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Dorothea is in the pond area where, well, Lila Dorothea is in the pond area where Dorothea died in the past. Dorothea has some voice flashbacks, kind of even follows the voice that commanded her from her own memory up until the point where she realized she didn't have a knife to take out, and then, kind of regained control of herself.
Yeah.
She has a realization that there's death in the pond, and that the order was grown on blood-soaked roots. And then
love that line.
Begins draining the pond to show the truth to Jen and Emmeline.
Yeah. Is it right here, I think, where she finds her magic crowbar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is there's just a pile of magic crowbars right next to this conveniently located moss-covered vent.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yep.
I'm glad I was there.
Yep.
Just to move the plot along, I'm glad I was there.
How funny would it have been if it's just like, "Hey, can you run to the garage and grab me a crowbar real quick? Make sure it's a big size one." And then like Jen or Emmeline goes to get it. They come back and they grab the wrong size. So then Lila's like, "Never mind, I'll go get it." So then Lila goes and gets the right one, and then grabs a flashlight, gives it to like Emmeline or Jen, and says, "Hold this." And then Jen and Emmeline gets it in her eyes, and then she yells and is like, "Get the fucking flashlight out of my eyes." Sorry, am I like going a little too much into my past as a child right now? All the times I was helping my dad with the car.
I feel like this is a hyper-specific situation. Man.
No, but I think all of us have been in this situation before. Yes. I know you have.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Anyways.
So we stay at the pond, but we do go back in time a little bit.
Yep.
And Valia and the girls pull up, and the disciples are in their own cone of silence at this point. We get a lot of cone of silence in this episode, and I'm here for it. I'm digging it.
The disciples aren't in their cone of silence yet. They're just hanging around by the.
Oh, they're just hanging
by
out.
The pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But she quickly puts one up.
Yeah.
Like after they start talking, she throws one up in the air and it comes down around them.
And this is our first time actually seeing the cone of silence little projector.
Yeah, a little cone of silence pancake or whatever, and just tosses it up in the air and it floats up there and creates it. Loved it.
Yep.
That was a nice addition of technology. And Valia basically gives them just like an ultimatum here. You're either with Dorothea or you're with me. You're with me or you're against me. And
only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yeah, well. And this is okay. I'm just gonna muscle through it with no personal feelings here.
Yep.
Uses the voice on all the sisters and tells them to choose. And one by one, they're cutting their own throats because they are choosing Dorothea.
With the exception of Avila.
Yes, middle-aged Avila, it seems like.
Yeah, young Avila is still old as fuck.
Yeah. Did you think they just de-aged the actor? That's what it looks like they did.
No, because the actress that plays like modern Avila is actually like an older woman. So
Well, I know, but like, do you think they just like did some like de-aging post processing
no,
CG
no,
stuff?
it looked too real for it to be like CG post
Mm,
processed. So
okay, well then that was very good casting for young Avila because it looks exactly like her, just like 15 minutes younger. Um, so she, young Avila stays. She agrees to follow Valia, which is why she's still around to this day.
yep.
And we cut back from this back over to Haviko's quarters. Francesca is sitting with him, and sorry, Francesca's sitting there waiting as Haviko enters the room, and he is just in a state of like shock from everything that he just got done hearing from Valia in the throne room.
Yep. All I could think of during this was the Hot Ones episode with Idris Elba, where he's just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's it the whole time.
I mean, that's pretty much Mark Strong's face in this entire episode.
Yeah.
It's just like, why is everyone doing this to me? Francesca reveals the Gom Jabbar and says she does not want to kill him. I mean, he gets it immediately. He sees what the thing is, and I think at this point he even asks, "Is it poison?"
Yeah,
or is that later?
Well, it's. Oh, I fucking hate. Oh my god! Just all the cuts, all the jump cuts. Can we just talk about this entire sequence?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Because
Take it all in one bite.
This just jumps back and forth and it's all over the place and it's a big mess. So Haviko's like, what did Valia mean when she said that my time was running short or whatever? And that's when, we get the Gom Jabbar reveal, and like you said, he asks if it's poisoned, and or Francesca just keeps on saying it was Valia's plan, not mine. He kind of realizes that he's stuck here, so he grabs a knife like he's gonna defend himself against Francesca, and Francesca even tells him like, hey, dumbass, that's not gonna do anything because of the imprint. You physically cannot harm me, so try it. And then one of the best lines, I think, during this entire season is said by Haviko here in this moment, where he just says, it's a strange thing when you finally realize you've never known one true moment of freedom. And then he takes his one true moment of freedom and kills himself or stabs himself in the gut.
Yeah.
While Francesca is with him in his dying moments, she gets Gom Jabbar'd by Empress Natalia, and Haviko is just on his back, clawing at Natalia's dress, and Natalia just tugs her dress away from him and walks out of the room, screaming that the Emperor has been killed.
Yeah. Kind of an unceremonious end to Haviko and Francesca, honestly. Like,
an unceremonious,
really big actors.
An unceremonious end to a very unceremonious emperor, though. Let's be real.
Okay, I guess it's fitting in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have opinions that we'll talk about later about this scene. So let's keep it going. The part that's intercut with this, and let's tag team this one too, because there's a lot here. Is the jail scene. So this is our final little bit in the jail.
So kind of interstitched between the two moments in Haviko's quarters is when we see the jail scene. And this is when Valia is being led to the jail. She uses the voice, not her voice, the voice, to kill the one guard in front of her. And by kill the one guard, I mean make him stab himself through the gut with this fucking long ass sword. And then as he's, as she's fiddling with the control panel, just pushing random buttons, more guards are approaching from behind, and Kieran calls out to her, but A hooded figure takes care of those guards. This is Theodosia as Inez. Both Inez, real Inez, and Kieran are brought down. We have a moment of the swapping of the Inezes. And Valia and Theodosia have their final goodbyes. Elsewhere in the palace, Natalia and Desmond are speaking about some of their plans, but are interrupted by the guards informing them that the Mother Superior has been arrested and has been led to the jail. And Desmond's like, of fucking course she has.
I love that line. That line read that he gives for that is so good.
Yep.
I laughed. It was very funny.
This sends the palace into lockdown. And as Valia, Inez, and Kieran are on their way out, Theodosia is looking down at one of the dead guards and seemingly gets a little bit of a different idea.
Yeah.
Inez and Valia are running through the castle with Kieran. We see, some more killing of various guards. And Inez tells Valia and Kieran that she knows some shortcuts that can get them out of the palace quickly and safely.
Yeah.
Theodosia has seemingly disappeared from this room as Desmond and some other goons are looking for the prisoners. And as Desmond is beginning to walk his way out, we see a guard on the ground kind of shake a little bit and start whispering some stuff, and Desmond's getting really, really close to try and hear what this guard is whispering. And
I've seen this before.
Where have I seen this? Oh, yeah. And the guard says, Mother Superior says, sisterhood above all, stab in the gut. Desmond immediately punches the shit out of this one guard, who turns out to be Theodosia, because we see that he punches Theodosia so hard he knocks the face dance right the fuck out of her.
Yep, that's great.
They arrest this creature, and we cut to the outside of the castle. Kieran, Valia, and Inez are getting into one of the space Mercedes and hopping away towards the spaceport to try and get to safety.
Their luxury beans.
Yeah. Guards are chasing in the other 3 luxury beans.
Yep.
And then we're going to go to Wallach for a little bit here.
I thought we had spent a little too much time in one place. Why not jump to a different planet? So the pond is now being fully drained, and we get to see there is a whole heck of a lot of skeletons at the bottom of this pond. And so I guess they didn't really do a whole lot of work getting the dead bodies out. They just kind of, drug them down the stairs and over, 5 feet, dumped them in the water where they've been sitting ever since.
I hope no one's been drinking out of that pond.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw Tula trimming the moss for the agony juice.
Yeah.
From around the pond earlier.
The Rossic poison?
Yeah, agony juice. Yeah. Yeah, and Dorothea is basically like, look at what they've done. This is where they went. They've been lying to you the whole time. It's at this point that Jen learns that Tula is not at the school, and Dorothea and her magic crowbar just bust open the door to the thinking machine corridor.
Yeah,
so
it takes
all the way down.
2 weak ass smacks to just bust open this door. Like, all right.
I'm telling you, I have to get one of these crowbars, dude. That is like, I want to know where they sell these.
It's worth noting that Avila hands the crowbar to Dorothea. So Avila never really, I guess, was entirely out of Dorothea's camp.
No, I mean, self-preservation.
Sure. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Avila hands the pry bar, 2 smacks, and then all the girls are rushing into the tunnels behind the pond here.
Mm-hmm.
We can't stay in one place too long because this is Dune Prophecy, so we're going to be with Tula on a ship. We get a flashback moment to Desmond's birth. The long and the short of it is that we see Tula with, the newborn baby that is not named. Francesca walks in with another, swaddled something under her robes, and they do the old switcheroo between a stillborn baby and this healthy baby. Tula decides that ultimately he needs to choose his own path, not Valia's, not the Harkonnens or the Sisterhoods or even hers. This is her gift to him.
Yeah.
And, she's breaking the cycle of bullshit, basically, that this whole family has had to deal with. She wants him to have his own life and, do his own thing. Francesca is going to be helping getting the boy to the new family, where Tula asks if he will be loved. And Francesca's only response is that the midwife says that she is in itinerant labor, gives birth to the stillborn that morning. She has love in her eyes and means to travel far away. So maybe he'll be loved. At least he can get far away.
Yep. I thought it was real interesting here, and this is, diving into the details slightly. She says that the laborer gave birth to a stillborn as was expected.
Yeah.
Which puts a whole shade of fuckery on this situation.
Yeah.
Is that they were planning for this. So it's a very small thing, but it's just oh gosh, these people are devious.
I mean, it is the Bene Gesserit after all. So.
Oh yeah. It's not out of character. I'm just saying that they are devious.
Yeah. A quick aside. I think Emma Canning is the fucking MVP for this entire episode. Holy shit.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. I have some notes on the acting here in a little bit, but I fully agree.
Yeah. We take another quick aside to the Harkonnen apartment after Tula begins her descent onto Seleucus Secundus. We learn what that thinking machine Harrow was given was.
Yeah.
It was a Nest security camera.
It's not a ring, it's a sphere.
Well, it's a sphere that turns into a bunch of little tiny microbots that spread all apart that whale diorama thing that was in the wall.
Yeah. I really like this scene a lot. I thought it was this is the only time we see Harrow in the entire episode.
It's the only time, but man, does he just have the most Harkonnen ass look on his face. Yep. Holy shit.
Yeah. He continues to be one of my favorite characters in this series.
I feel like this is, House Harkonnen truly becoming what it becomes with Harrow.
Yeah. Yep. But like all good scenes in the show, we don't stay with them very long. So we are we get to catch up with the castle escape. We're seeing all of the luxury beans have landed at the fuel depot. The Valia and their ship is just ever so slightly ahead of the other ones.
Yep.
So Kieran is charged with protecting Inez, get her onto this courier ship. Valia will meet them when she's able. And she quickly walks down the path and confronts Desmond and his boys as they are running up to meet him. And we get to see some really, really fun use of the voice here. This is, I loved the defend me command. I think the most, that was really cool. So Valia's using, she's not actually doing a whole lot of the fighting herself. She definitely is, but a lot of it is being directed at the other goons to either kill themselves or to fight on her behalf.
Yep. Or to just stop really and stand still as she, for the only time that we see in the entire series, uses a slow blade to penetrate a shield.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because she is deliberately doing slow motions to cut throats and stuff. But as the goons are fighting each other, it's, fast, forceful, stabs and jabs and slices and whatnot.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we end with a slight 1v1 between the very wounded Desmond and Valia, who asks to see her end. Because, Desmond had told her that he had seen it before. And Desmond does his little, whispery breathe, exhale thing. And we see thumpers at nighttime, seemingly in Desmond's head, and flashbacks to Griffin's fallen in the ice memory in Valia's head. Lots of, Griffin calling out in the snowstorm, Valia searching the ice through this heavy snowstorm, which is conveniently like intermingled with black snow that's, enveloping her and everything as well. Similar to the representation that we saw of the virus as it was being attempted to be transmuted against earlier. We see Valia's moment of using the voice, I guess, for the actual first time to tell Griffin to swim. And it's Dune Prophecy, so we're cutting away from this scene.
We'll be back. Back.
Tula is in the spaceport.
Yeah, conveniently, Tula has landed in the same spaceport on the same dock in the same little vicinity.
Within meters of all the other action.
Yep. She sees Kieran and Inez and goes in the direction that they have come running from. We get a really, really cool fight scene between Kieran and Inez here. Or with Kieran and Inez against the guards. Sorry, they're not fighting each other. They're fighting the guards, but
it's 2v goons.
Man, oh man. Yeah, 2v goons, yep. Man, oh man, this was probably my favorite fight scene out of the show, just because they do it so well.
Yep.
I see here in your notes that you do say it does break the rules. It absolutely does break the rules against shields, but damn if it's not a cool fight scene.
No, the choreography was fantastic.
Yeah.
I gotta knock it though, because it's not sticking to the rules of this universe, as does a lot of Brian Herbert's bullshit.
Well, Denis is guilty of this too.
No, and we called that out where we saw fit. I'm not saying that we're like dogging solely on Brian here, but if the slow blade penetrates the shield, the slow blade should penetrate the shield.
Yeah. That's just one of those things. Like, I know it's a cool line from the books, but it probably would have done the movies some good if they just didn't say it.
Yeah.
Just leave that out completely, because it wouldn't invite such scrutiny for everything else they do.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Tula finds Valia and Desmond. Desmond's laying on the ground after, being drained from his virus attack thing. And just like she did when Valia was going through her agony, Tula starts to guide Valia out of this. So she's talking to her. She knows what's happening because she saw it with the doctor earlier. And she's just, getting her to let go of her fears. And she says a lot of stuff, and it almost she almost says the litany word for word here. She just dances around it the entire time.
We do kind of see the litany in action, though.
Yeah, we do. Inside Valia's head, though, we get to see some really cool visuals of a conversation between her and Griffin, where he's basically blaming her for everything that's happened to the family, which is a big fear of hers.
Yep.
He disappears, and the ice is cracking, and the storm's picking up. We see that those black wind things start to overtake her, and what should appear on the horizon of this frozen ocean?
Worm sign, baby.
That's it. Shai-Hulud appears on the horizon and it is tearing ass through this ice. And that's when Valia lets go and lets the fear quite literally pass through her.
The moment that she fully lets go, the entire perspective and world changes. We are no longer seeing things from Valia's perspective, but we see from Desmond's perspective earlier. We are on Arrakis. We are not in snow. We are in sand. Shai-Hulud swallows us, and we see the two eyes, which become one. In this moment, we see a giant surgery robot. Zach, you recently had LASIK. Is this how it felt?
Yeah, no, it's exactly the same. Yeah.
Where you saw one of your eyes get torn out and all these little nanobots put on your optic nerve and everything, and you saw them like slice the iris of your eye and all that fun stuff.
Yep. No, it's this was basically a shot-for-shot remake of a very normal LASIK procedure. Fun fact, everyone's optic nerves are 4 feet long.
Yeah, obviously. Long enough to pull the eye out far and then turn it around and then look at yourself.
Exactly. No, my LASIK procedure was painless. It was done in 30 minutes. There's nothing to be worried about. If you're worried about getting LASIK, don't worry. It's easy now.
I don't know. I was blessed with good eyes, so
yeah, fair enough. We get the robots and a very ominous hooded figure watching all this happen.
Of course, heavily backlit, so we can't see more than just the fact that it's a hooded figure.
Yeah. And then we cut back to reality, and gravity's still there because they're sitting on the ground. Valia starts to get up towards Desmond, and she's going to end this right now.
Yeah.
He's lying on the ground. He can't stop her from this. And that has been her goal for the past 4 episodes, is to end Desmond.
And as she's getting ready to, Tula stops Valia using the voice. She explains that it's her son, and, the whole lie about his death. Basically, Tula has a we're not so different, you and I conversation where they're 2 wolves born to feed with no care for the cost. And Valia basically is like, look, if you want to save him, that's up to you. This is your problem now. I've seen the true enemy, and if they want to fight in the shadows, I'll fight them in the motherfucking shadows. And then she just leaves. We do still have, we have a tender moment where Desmond both wants to kill the shit out of Tula, but also comfort and be comforted by Tula. And ultimately, more goons arrive, and he has Tula arrested. Mom can't get away from me again. And
that's right.
That's where we leave these two, because we go to one of the coolest scenes in the entire series. We see a Highliner folding space, not for mix, but we are folding space. And we see this Highliner appear over the orbit of Arrakis.
Yeah.
A small ship leaves the main hangar of the Highliner and descends to the surface. Who is on the ship but Valia, Kieran, and Inez? This is where the path to the enemy begins. End of episode.
Yep. End of episode. Oh, man. What an episode.
It was an episode.
I got a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to start just with the one that's fresh on my mind. I absolutely loved this depiction of folding space, how they did this with the Highliner.
Yeah.
All of the shortcomings that this series has had, and there have been a lot.
Yep.
A good portion of them were made up with that depiction of the Highliner. That was so cool.
We gave a lot of praise to the depiction of the Highliners in Denis movies, and how the highliners almost looked like gates between two different points in space. But I think, I'm going to be honest, I think this one is a better representation of a highliner than...
Well, it is. No, it hands down is, because this is more canonically correct.
This is folding space, yes.
Yeah.
And while we don't, wormholes are theoretical physics, I was getting massive like Interstellar vibes off of this scene too.
Absolutely,
and it was, oh my God, it was so good. Like, yeah, wormholes are theoretical, but like if that's how it was to look, that's it. Yeah. So
yeah,
I think that shot right there saves a lot of this episode for me.
Yep. Well, let's talk about the rest.
Yeah, let's get into actual substance. First things first. Season is over, and before we get into all of our criticisms and other feelings on things, because I feel like you and I both have a lot of criticisms on things, I do want to reiterate, more Dune is always good. And the opportunities that we have to get Dune in a larger, more in the face of the public scale, the better.
Yeah.
That said.
Well, let me give my flowers here just for a second.
Okay. Also the acting, like,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Fucking actors killed in this.
Yes, absolutely. Any fault that I have with the show is 0% of this is on the actors. And I'm not even going to say all of it's on the writing. A lot of it's on the writing, but not all of it's on the writers. I think there are external things that, kind of force their hand into making this, or making the errors, or at least what you and I deem as errors in the show. So the actors, especially the actors who portrayed the younger versions of the main characters, fucking killed it. Oh my gosh, they did so good.
The younger actresses that played the younger, sisters, Taboo fucking killed it. Mark Strong killed it. Especially, like, I feel like he always plays more like, excuse the pun, strong characters.
Yeah.
So to see him like kind of flex his acting muscles to play such a, shitty and weak and feeble man was really cool.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, no, they all did really good job with their roles and stuff.
And this was a beautiful show. It truly was a beautiful show. Like the set decorations, the CG, like I can't think of a moment of like abhorrently bad CG like we got in the movie.
There was one, and it was in episode 1 where it was like a plane flying over water, but the perspective is from someone inside the plane looking at a sunset over the water, and the water just looks really shitty. But
okay, well
but it was like
it
was a 3-second clip, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah. So, but yeah, regardless, the show visually is visually striking.
Set design was also really good too.
Yeah,
but
okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get into what people want to hear.
I hate this show for one reason and one reason only, and it is the constant jumps from one planet to another. We can't have one long scene that lasts more than about 5 minutes without having to go somewhere else. And the amount of threads and things that are just open at all times. I understand it's Dune and it's a whole universe worth of shit to do, but like, I feel like we could have had more time focusing on individual, like larger cuts of things happening at once.
Yeah.
The strongest case in point was the death of Havoko scene.
Yeah.
Getting that cut right in the middle of it is such just like come the fuck on, dude. Like, it's such a pacing killer, and I hated it.
I agree. I agree. My note on that subject was it feels like it's not unique to this episode. I feel like all of them have felt like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much crammed into one episode, and that is a curse of the 6-episode format that they got kind of roped into with this. It really did not do any favors.
I will say this episode was a little better. Having the extra 20 minutes definitely helped. And I feel like if it was 6 episodes of an hour and 20 minutes apiece, it might not have felt as chaotic.
Yeah, maybe not. It's the show not letting us sit with anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't give the audience time to breathe and to live with what's happening on screen at all. As soon as there's one revelation, we're on to the next. And this episode did not feel like it was, one big, twist at the end. It felt like, 15 to 20 micro twists all the way throughout the episode. So, it was just a lot back and forth. So yes, I completely agree. There needs to be space to breathe. I'm hoping that this feedback has been heard by HBO, and now that season 2 is greenlit, they're going to ditch the 6-episode format. Give us, 8 to 10, at least, and just actually be able to go in depth with things versus just touching on them, touching and then moving to something else.
I hate to make the comparison because Dune isn't Game of Thrones, but it feels like HBO wants Dune to become Game of Thrones. And
for sure.
The way that the pacing and the structure of this show is done would be like if you cut away from the Red Wedding, the moment that Catelyn sees the chainmail under what's his name?
I cannot remember.
The fucking Flayed Man house.
Yeah, it's the janitor from Harry Potter.
It's not the janitor from Harry Potter.
Who plays the head of that house? Absolutely it is. It's Filch. Filch is the character.
No. It's under Roose Bolton's, because like Catelyn is sitting next to Roose Bolton, and she lifts up his sleeve and sees the chainmail.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about the head of the house.
No, Filch is the head of I completely just like drained my brain of all A Song of Ice and Fire knowledge for fucking Dune. But Filch is there for the Red Wedding and everything. But it would be like if they cut away from that scene the moment that she sees the chainmail under Roose Bolton's sleeve, and then just like fucked off to King's Landing and then came back.
Yeah.
Like that's how the pacing feels, or would feel, in like another show that HBO had done.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to, like, I think they were forced into doing this, given the very limited time they had approved. The writers and the directors of this show, and the showrunners themselves, like they have a good pedigree, like underneath, of shows that they've worked on. So it felt weird. It felt weird, like seeing this from them. And so it makes me have to believe that it was something that was a little bit outside their control, and they were doing the best with the situation that they were given. Now, maybe try not to cram so much in there, if there can be some rewrites that maybe lessen the plot a little bit, fine.
Yeah.
I think we could all handle that. But yeah, no, I agree. I think that is my biggest complaint with the show as well. I don't know if that's your biggest one.
Okay. Well, yeah, with the show as a whole, I have a bigger complaint with this episode.
Let's hear it.
I rolled my eyes so hard at the "I can fix him" moment that Tula had. Like, I get it, right? Yeah. Like, it's your child that you abandoned and you feel really shitty for it and everything. But like, Since when have the Bene Gesserit been so kind and so forgiving? Which they're definitely known for being kind and forgiving, to want to fix the man that is actively trying to destroy your order.
So I have a response to this, and I'm going to roll it into something that I initially thought was a gripe on my end as well.
Okay.
The whole Inez Kieran storyline is just saccharine and feels like it doesn't need to be here.
Kieran Atreides added nothing other than just being a love interest for her. And ultimately, like, she's a man that does dumb shit, that she does dumb shit, or he's a man that she does dumb shit for and ends up fucking herself over in the process trying to save him.
Yeah. It's a very, very much a young adult novel type of storyline to me.
As is typical of Brian Herbert.
Right. Now, that was my initial complaint. After I sat with it for a little bit, I tried to make an in-universe, explanation for this.
Mm-hmm.
Our Dune that we know and love comes 10,000 years after this. And that is 10,000 years of people reining in their emotions and getting their hearts and their minds under control. So emotions are going to be play a lot more in the story now than they would then.
Sure.
Now, that's a very loose headcanon net to try to save this, but that's what I
All
got.
I'm saying is that Gaius Helen Moheim would look at Valia and Tula and just be like, fucking get rid of this trash.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Can we talk about Desmond for a second? Because this was we've talked a lot about, or we theorized a lot about Desmond throughout the series, and I want to say that we were sorta right.
I want to say that I'm just very glad that we have a physical explanation for what the fuck was going on, whether or not it's a virus or if it's a, nano machine, because the show didn't seem to know whether or not it was nanotech or a virus. Because initially Raquel was like, oh yeah, it's fucking RNA virus handled by nanobots. So yeah. I guess they're leaning more on the virus side of it all, but we have an actual explanation. It's not like some magic bullshit. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. God. Thank God. Yeah. I was very happy about that too.
Yeah. I think this sets us up for Bene Tleilaxu and Bene Gesserit shit.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I wanted to take this, and we don't have to answer these questions, but these are just questions that I had like after the the season 1 conclusion of Desmond's storyline. There's still a bunch of questions open about him. We didn't really.
There's a bunch of questions open about a lot of things.
Well, yeah, like how did he survive the worm attack?
Yep.
Did he survive the worm attack? Who the heck modified him? And I think my most important question is, what does it feel like to look at yourself looking at yourself while you look at yourself? That's what the fuck was that?
My head's broken. Yeah, no. All right. So like my theory on that is that I think there's still a very, very small possibility that the Gola thing still has legs.
The flame is not completely extinguished.
Yeah. I am almost like it almost certainly has to be Tleilaxu, because what other group is so invested and interested in genetic manipulation other than the Bene Gesserit?
Ixians do a little bit of it, but yeah, I think
not to the extent that the Tleilaxu would recognize the Desmond, because that was the thing that Valia said, was that someone else also recognized his potential.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ixians, yes, they fuck with it a little bit, but I think the Tleilaxu would have recognized that potential just as the Bene Gesserit did. So,
yeah, no, I agree. And they wouldn't name drop Tleilaxians earlier in the episode if they weren't going to do something else with it.
Right. This show really was just an origin story for the Litany Against Fear, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. And it kind of sucks that we didn't get it at the end. We got bits and pieces. We got like the proto litany when Tula was helping Valia through her ordeal.
Yeah.
But even if they had just said fear is the mind killer, like that would have been enough for me.
But fear isn't just the mind killer. It's the mind and body killer. Fear is the mind killer and the body ignition switch.
Barbecuer.
Yeah.
Body barbecuer.
Fear is the slow roaster. Fear is the rotisserie fucking oven.
Oh man.
I need fan art of Benny Gesserit rotisserie chickens.
Get on it, folks.
I'm sad that we didn't actually get any Leto the Second references, but I get it.
So the eyes forming into one and being like the surgery robot, that felt like a cheap payoff to me.
It did, but there was always the mechanical voice.
There absolutely was. So yes, I understand how it fits into this world. I think it was a letdown solely because I let myself get hyped up for Leto. So it's not anything like the show did the right choice with taking it that direction. It would have been very, very weird to introduce like Leto looking back through time. I understand that. It would have been very cool. And there's parts of that don't even make sense. But it still would have been really nice. I thought it would have been really cool. And if nothing else, that I think that us thinking that it was Leto the entire time was just a nice little thing that we got to believe in for a second.
Zach, do you like fish?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we just got served up a huge pile of red herring.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I fell for it. I fell for it a little bit.
I was all in on Leto. I wanted it so fucking bad. I want to see a weird worm man.
Yeah. Well, we will get our weird worm man God Emperor one day.
Well, we've already had him.
Until then. Well, no, I also want to say until then, just watch James McAvoy start to turn into a worm on the sci-fi miniseries. That's as good as we're going to get right now.
Yeah.
Theodosia.
Yeah.
Criminally underused in this episode. Such a cool build-up. Such a lackluster payoff for that character.
To only see a true transformation once and then like hands in this episode being transformed was like, come on, guys. Like, I get it. The CG's expensive, but
well,
face dancing
that's what it felt like.
Such a fucking cool thing. And like for us to really see it in earnest once.
And the thing with the guard laying down, tell Cersei it was me moment kind of thing. That it just felt like a waste. It felt like a waste of that character.
I don't know. It did feel more like an homage to another Harkonnen's attempt on his life with Leto and Vladimir.
Yeah,
like that. I think
that's
that's more what it was for. But yes. However, I think Theodosia was smart enough to recognize that because Kieran had also left, it wouldn't make any sense whatsoever for Inez to have been left, but Kieran to have been jailbroken. So Theodosia had to adapt on the fly.
Yeah. Yes. You're right. You are correct about that. It was just a disappointing use of the character. Now, that being said, she is not dead.
No.
So we will get to see more of her in season 2.
Yep.
She and
Tula are both in prison. So
yeah. So we're gonna get to see more. So I'm holding on hope that we get to actually explore that a little bit more, because I would also love some backstory if there's time for it into Theodosia. Don't make them 10-second cutaways in between important scenes, but if there's time for it, that would be cool.
I think if we're going Tleilaxu, we're gonna get a lot of that backstory and that explanation about what the Tleilaxu actually are.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a major through line for the second season. This what I'm about to say is not really something specific to this episode, but kind of just like the series as a whole. There were so many plot engines in this series.
Mm-hmm.
We have plot armor where characters, live when they shouldn't. And then we have plot engines in my mind that are things that are very, very convenient that just drive the story forward.
Crowbar, for instance.
The crowbar being the one from this one, the conveniently placed black robe in the barrel of spice being the one from the episode or two ago.
Desmond's convenient shield timing.
Yeah, well, that's plot armor and plot engine there. So it's like there's so many things, and the one that like kind of put me on this train of thought is how the heck did Dorothea know the bodies were down there?
There was like the one drop of blood from the like crystal thing in the middle that she saw or whatever, which maybe she was loose. I don't know, but
either that's a lot of intuiting that she did very quickly, or it was that plot engine that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it's just
now she wanted to drain the swamp.
Yeah, there you go. Is that our second drain the swamp reference in this entire run of the series?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Just people seem to know things when it's convenient for them to know them.
They drink and they know things. I was told I would I don't know if you read the Reddit AMA that the actress that played young Valia did.
No, I didn't.
I was told that I would shit my pants about the ending, yet I sat there last night on my couch, pants unshat. So, Granted, this is also coming from an actress that was told not to read the books. So,
oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's probably good.
Yeah.
I don't know if the show caused me to shit my pants or I just did that naturally, but I mean that happened.
Taco Bell catch up to you like that sometimes, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say it's a coincidence. No, I don't think there was anything in this finale that was pants shitting worthy.
No. What would have been pants shitting worthy is if the show hadn't been picked up for a second season and we were just left with all these unresolved threads. Like they wrote this thinking that they would get a second season, or I guess hoping that they would get a second season. But man, if it didn't, I think this would have been one of the biggest TV flops ever.
Yeah, the fact that it wasn't confirmed until the week of the finale coming out, is crazy, because that's not enough time to do rewrites or reshoots or anything like that. Oh my god, that's insane. Now, whether the producers knew that it was going to get greenlit, a long time in advance, but if they truly did not think that it was going to, they could have either just shot it and wrote it and taken the L for the series, or tried to do something that a ton of other series that are canceled far too early have had to do, which is just cram the finale into a haphazard ending.
Yeah.
And neither are good. Neither are good ways to go about it. Okay, so we spent time shitting on the show. What are your overall thoughts for the series as a whole?
Well, let me Shai-Hulud the episode first.
Okay, go for it.
After it's all said and done, everything with this episode, the weird pacing, the unresolved story lines, seeing Anarul get destroyed,
sort of destroyed,
kind of. That might be
basically just
I read
They
something
basically
on
just broke the screen.
yeah, I've read something on Blue Sky where it was like this is the equivalent to just smashing a monitor and calling it done.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I don't know, man. Like 6.5
For the episode or the series?
for the episode.
Okay.
I wasn't a big fan. This was the one episode that I found myself like actively looking at my phone to see how much longer was left in it, and not in a oh I want more way, but like can we wrap this the fuck up kind of way.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow.
a lot of the cuts back and forth and around important scenes like Haviko's death and stuff like and you know Dorothea rallying the acolytes around her and everything just really fucking threw me out of it.
Yeah.
This was their one chance to just do big spectacle, scenes, and they really fumbled that shit. So, but
Yeah.
we did get to see the guild fold space, so that was cool.
Hey, I hope we get to see more of that. Yeah. So I'll translate this into Shai Hulud's here in just a second, but the only thing that I could, or the thing that just kept like ringing in my head as I was writing these final thoughts were, this was a better than average ending to a below average series.
Okay. Yeah. That's
that's how I feel about it. Like, I liked this episode. I thought it was good. I think it, the good outweighs the bad in it. But when you when you add it to the whole, it raises the average, which, I mean, it wasn't hard to do. So yeah, the series as a whole, I mean, it was fine. I'm going to put a lot of weight on any Dune is better than no Dune, but there's just a lot of things that this show had to fight. It was an uphill battle from the very start. I mean, look at the production history of this show.
Yeah,
it was never going to go smoothly. But yeah, so I guess six is probably the best place to put it. It's right there, just slightly above average. But that's probably me being biased.
Yeah, it makes me sad that Denis wasn't as involved with the show as he was originally meant to be, because I feel like if he was, a lot of continuity would have remained. But I would rather him work on a really good Dune Messiah.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be interesting to see if there's any kind of like tie-ins to Messiah, because a lot of and for all its faults, what this show is doing is it is opening the door to a lot of the themes that Denis would have to open himself in Messiah.
Yeah,
and it is doing the appropriate job there. Whether they're doing it good or bad, I don't know, but they're doing it appropriately.
Yeah, we're getting all the introduction and bullshit out of the way here, which. I'm fine with that. I actually think I think that's the way to go.
If this has to be the sacrificial lamb for that, then fine. So be it.
I just worry about the slippery slope with that, where it's like, oh, well, if you didn't watch this one fucking show or read this one comic to then understand, which like you kind of need that with Dune anyways, with as far as reading the books. But we talked about it a lot.
Before you get on to that, I'm going to say, the public has been conditioned for that with all this MCU bullshit that has happened over the last like 30 years or whatever.
I still think one of my biggest criticisms, and I know I've been very critical, and it's just because I really love this property. I really love Dune. Like, if I didn't, I wouldn't have done 148 episodes, going minute by minute through Dune Part 1, and then plans to do, our summer school, and then Dune Part 2, and the other Dune movies and TV shows and everything. Like, I really care about this, but they gotta fucking knock this shit off with the, always always a child of Harkonnen and Atreides shit,
Sure.
and
Sure.
you know, the Skywalkerification of
Mm-hmm.
Dune. Oh, I hate
It's
it.
a big universe.
I hate it. I hate
Use
it.
it.
You have all these houses. We had House Arat named for the first time with Natalia Arat, and that was it.
So, when they said her full name, I didn't hear the part of a rat. So I thought her name was Natalia Rat. And I was like, man, they're doing her dirty with this name.
Natalia the Rat. I
agree with that. You know, it's a big universe. They need to use it. And there's a lot of stories to be told that don't revolve around the single plot line that we've been given so far.
Yeah.
Where's my Holtzman season? I want a full 2 seasons on Holtzman.
Well, come back to the Dune Minute podcast in January and you'll get that.
Yes, that's right. That's right. What a good segue. All right, man, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and hit the old editing studio.
What are you going to say for the season? How many Shai Haluds are you going to give the entire season? Okay.
For the season, I have to kind of do a cop out and just go straight down the middle 5. Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It was just, I felt okay about it. I don't know if I'll watch this again. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I know that for doing the show, we've probably watched each episode 2 or 3 times already.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to revisit this.
I am going to say I'm going to go a little higher at 6. Just because, and none of it is because of the story. I mean, some of it, not a lot of it. Seeing the world of Dune in terms of like what we saw with different sets and different people and, you know, all these things that we've read about and heard about for years was really cool. So like we talked about, more Dune is always good, but I can't, you know, be quiet about my criticisms of how the show was written and how it was edited and, you know, cut together and everything like that. I think that was a huge misstep. And if there's anything they can do for season 2 to really make me like happy with it, it's, you know, address a lot of those things. The show needs to be paced better. The show either needs 8 or 10 episodes. 8 is fine. I think 10 is too much, but I think 8 episodes, if we had 2 more hours of this show to flesh some shit out and have more meaningful scenes that weren't constantly jump cutting between planets. Because here's the other thing too, with season 2, we're going to be jump cutting between Wallach, Arrakis, and Seleucia Secundus. So we have another planet to jump cut between. So like, what the fuck? Yeah. Be interested to see if we see anything about the starting of Missionaria Productiva. You know, if they're going to dive into that at all, or if they're just going to focus hard on Bene Tleilaxu versus Bene Gesserit while also dealing with Imperial bullshit. Who knows?
They've set themselves up for a lot. In season 2.
But they also need to stay focused and they need to, you know, get their shit together.
Yep. Agreed.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I would say 6 out of 10 for the series.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
Yep.
Well, send us away with the socials and another summer school drop if you could, and then we'll get this thing posted as soon as possible.
You can find us in several places on the internet. We are on Blue Sky at duneminute.com. We are on Instagram at the Dune Minute, and you can email duneminute@gmail.com if you'd like to get in touch. This is also a reminder that in January, we are fully planning on doing 2 summer school episodes. We're going to be talking about Holtzman himself. We're going to be talking a lot more in depth about the Butlerian Jihad, more than Dune Prophecy would ever dare to touch. So if you're looking for a lot more information on what actually happened and you know, you want to know more about the history of this universe, we're going to have January, February, and March with a lot of really cool content for you guys. We will be back. Don't know when we're going to be publishing those, but I think we'll be back recording the first one here soon enough, either right before or right after the new year. I don't know. Zach and I need to figure out the logistics of that, but we will be posting.
We'll have a production meeting later.
We'll be posting online, Siege posting with all of our friends. Shout out to all of you guys on Blue Sky that are just Siege posting away. So,
all right, cool. Well, that will do it for our coverage of Dune Prophecy. Thank you for taking this journey with us. And reach out if you have anything you'd like to start a discussion on. With that, we will see y'all in the new year.
see you later.
See ya.